All right, everyone, buckle up, because we are diving into some seriously creepy neighbor stories this time. The kind of stuff that makes you check your locks twice.
It really is fascinating, isn't it? How these seemingly ordinary interactions with the people next door can become so unsettling.
It's like that feeling you get when you think you see someone looking at you through their window.
Oh, absolutely. That primal unease about who might be living right on the other side of our walls just makes you feel vulnerable.
Okay, so get this. Imagine it's late, kids are in bed, and you catch this flash of light from your neighbor, Steve's window.
Sounds a little suspicious already.
Yeah, and it's not just once. This listener said they saw it multiple times, and it always seems to happen when their kids are playing in the backyard. They even caught Steve by the fence line one evening, just lurking.
See, that's what I mean about that feeling of being watched. It triggers something deep down, that need to protect ourselves and our families.
It's like your spidey senses are tingling, right?
Exactly, and the not knowing. Like, what's the intention behind it? That's what really gets the heart racing.
And our listener definitely picked up on that vibe. They said they tried talking to Steve, just casually mentioned the flashing light, but he got super defensive about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, almost like he was trying a little too hard to come up with a good explanation, and it just made the whole thing feel, weirder.
It's funny how our brains work. We're always looking for patterns, trying to make sense of things, and when someone's behavior doesn't quite match up, it's like a red flag goes up.
You're like, okay, what are you not telling me?
Exactly, and it makes us question everything, even if there's a perfectly innocent explanation.
Oh, for sure, and it definitely escalated from there.
What happened?
So one night, the listener's kids wake up terrified, claiming someone's outside their window with a camera flash.
Oh, no.
The listener rushes to check, and guess who they see staring right back at them?
Steve.
Bingo! And get this, it was the same window the kids were talking about.
Ooh, okay, now that sends chills down my spine.
Right, it goes from nosy neighbor to something much more sinister.
Absolutely, because now it's like all those initial feelings you had, that unease, it starts to feel less like imagination and more like, wait a minute, is something really going on here?
And it's that doubt that really gets to you, because what if your gut feeling is right?
It's like that feeling you get when you're walking alone at night and you turn around and someone's a little too close for comfort.
Ugh, yeah, your heart skips a beat.
Exactly, and even though, logically they might not have even noticed you, your instinct is telling you to be cautious.
It's like those deep-seated survival mechanisms just kicking in.
Precisely. It makes you wonder, in that situation, what would you do? Would you confront Steve again, call the police, or try to just ignore it and hope it goes away?
I don't know if I have a good answer for that one. It's a tough call.
It really is, and there's no one-size-fits-all approach, but you've hit on something crucial here. This isn't just about a creepy neighbor. It's about that fine line between reasonable caution and letting our imaginations run wild.
And speaking of imaginations running wild, Steve's flashing lights might seem almost quaint compared to our next story.
Do tell.
We're talking power tools, bizarre musical choices, and an encounter that's more Twilight Zone than friendly neighborhood.
Okay, now you've got my attention. This I've got to hear.
So picture this, you're sound asleep, middle of the night, like 2 a.m., and suddenly, bang!
Oh no, what happened?
Your entire apartment is shaking like someone took a jackhammer to the walls next door. Turns out this listener had some seriously dedicated midnight remodelers living next to them.
Oh wow, that's rough. I can't imagine trying to sleep through that. Were they like having a wild party or something?
Not even close. This listener said it sounded like a full-on construction site, power saws, hammering, the works.
What? At 2 in the morning? Who does that?
Right. So finally, they work up the courage to go knock on the door, and that's when things went from weird to just plain creepy.
Okay, I'm hooked. What happened?
It gets weirder, trust me. So they knock on the door, and it swings open to reveal 4 guys, probably in their late 30s, early 40s, going to town on this completely empty apartment.
An empty apartment, so it wasn't even their place.
Nope, not at all. And get this, they were blasting like early 2000s pop music. We're talking Britney Spears, Backstreet Boys, the whole shebang, while they were demolishing the place.
You're kidding. Okay, see, now that just doesn't add up.
I know, right? It's like, what's their story? Did they stumble out of a time capsule? What's going on there?
It's those little details, that really throw you off. Like your brain is trying to make it make sense, but it just doesn't.
And the listener said they tried to ask them to keep it down, be reasonable. But 2 of the guys just stopped what they were doing, dead silent, and stared them down.
Oh, I would have been terrified.
Oh, for sure. Like fight or flight mode kicks in.
Yeah, you never know what someone's going to do when they react like that.
So naturally, the listener noped right out of there and hightailed it back to their apartment. The weirdest part is the next day, the apartment was empty again. No more construction, no more music, just silence. It was like the whole thing never even happened.
That is so bizarre. It's like something out of the Twilight Zone. You'd almost think you imagined it, except for the noise. I mean, you can't imagine that.
I know, right? And it's not like Steve and his flashing lights where you could maybe kind of almost rationalize it. This is just unexplainable, and it really makes you think about how vulnerable you are, even in your own home.
Absolutely. It really throws a wrench in the idea of a safe space.
Okay, so speaking of safe spaces, our last story takes us from construction chaos to something a little more, well, insidious.
Ooh, I gotta hear, what kind of insidious are we talking?
Think less jump scare, more like slow burn creepy. It's the kind of story that makes you wonder who you can really trust.
Oh, okay, I see. So more psychological thriller than slasher flick.
Exactly. So this listener had just moved into this new place. Nice neighborhood, quiet street, everything seemed perfect.
Sounds idyllic enough. What could go wrong?
Well, they start noticing this couple in the window of the house directly behind them. And every time they're in their backyard, this couple is just staring.
Okay, see, that's just not cool. Like, I get it. We've all glanced out the window, seen what the neighbors are up to, but there's a line, right?
Right, and it's like no wave, no friendly nod, just this intense, unwavering gaze, like they were trying to memorize their every move.
Ugh. I hate that feeling of being watched. It's like an invasion of privacy, even if it's unintentional.
And get this, they tried waving to be friendly, break the ice, but the couple didn't react at all. They wouldn't engage.
So creepy. It's like they wanted to observe, but not be observed themselves. Very strange.
Exactly. So finally, the listener decides to be proactive, convinces their partner to go over and introduce themselves, just a friendly, hey, we're your new neighbors kind of thing, but of course.
Of course. What? What happened?
It backfires spectacularly.
Tell me everything.
So they go over, knock on the door, and a young guy answers, acting super cagey, claims not to know anything about a couple living there.
No way. Are they sure they had the right house?
Positive. They even double-check the address and everything, but as they're walking away, they look back, and guess what?
Don't tell me. The young guy is still standing there watching them.
You got it. And as if that wasn't creepy enough, a few nights later, they're woken up by someone banging on their downstairs window.
Oh, come on. That's terrifying. Did they see who it was?
Nope, they didn't see who it was, but given everything else that had been going on, they were pretty convinced it was connected to the mystery couple.
I mean, you can't help but put two and two together, right?
Yeah.
It all seems very suspicious.
Totally. And just when they think things can't get any weirder, they overhear this screaming match coming from the mystery couple's house.
Okay, so there was a couple, but what were they fighting about?
They never found out, but it was enough to make them seriously consider investing in some home security, that's for sure.
I bet. It's like all those unanswered questions, it just leaves you with this uneasy feeling.
And that's what makes these stories so unsettling. It's that lingering unease, the sense that maybe, just maybe, you've stumbled onto something truly strange, something you can't explain.
It really makes you think twice about those seemingly ordinary interactions with the people next door.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to close the curtains and maybe invest in a good motion sensor light. A huge thank you to all of you for joining us for this deep dive into the weird world of neighbors.
And remember, be kind to your neighbors, but maybe keep a healthy distance, just in case. Until next time.